welcome to tonight's evening of Kleinkunst. My name is Jay Stewart and I'm a visiting lecturer at Central School of Speech and Drama. And this is...
Laura Douglas. And I work for the Centre for Excellence in Training to Theatre, also at Central School of Speech and Drama.
So we're going to divide just the welcome between us tonight because we've shared sort of roles. Okay, so Kleinkunst is a series of events that looks to platform the various types of low art or short performance art practice that takes place in bars, clubs, festivals, queer and other subcultural spaces across the globe. The idea behind forming these events is to provide a place for discussing these art practices, whilst there seems to be a popular emergence or re-emergence of art practices, such as variety shows, vaudeville, cabaret, freak shows, and other neo and hybrid forms, we are keen to consider the cultural and political consequences of these resurgences. So our big overarching question across the series has been, how do these performances help us to think about identities, bodies, communities, and representation? Okay, so this is our third event, and tonight we're focusing on the sideshow or the freak show as part of the circus season here at the Roundhouse. And we want to ask some questions about how that offers a historical and contemporary commentary around bodies, normativity and image. So we've seen contemporary freak shows build in ways that subvert and twist this 19th century phenomenon for its own edgy and controversial ends. So by repeating the freak show, albeit repeating it differently, our question is, how does that repetition differ from a Victorian reading, if you like? Is it different? And I've got a quote here, which I used the quote last time. I thought the quote's good. And you can look over there. So I think this is important about this idea of the spectacle of the freak. The freak is an object of simultaneous horror and fascination, because the freak is an ambiguous being whose existence imperils categories and oppositions dominant in social life. So it seems to me that as much as it is about featuring differently bodied people or performing bodies differently, it's as much about how a viewer views these bodies. So how do we look? Do we ogle when we look at these performances? If so, are we ogling now in different ways than the Victorians ogled? When we ogle different bodies, do we now like ogle with a knowingness? Is it ogling, or is ogling always ogling, is, I guess, my question. Do we want to be ogled as well as ogle? Okay, enough of the ogle, no more ogle. In short, what does ogling do? So what's been interesting about the Kleinkunst project is about how we've wanted to bring together papers and performances into one space. And in that way, it's been like quite experimental. There's been seemingly some interesting tensions and even antagonisms between the artistic practices, either the audiences or performers within these frames, or those who are attached to a more academic or critical framework. So I'm wondering, because it's all about ogling, I'm wondering like who you lot are really. Who is ogling tonight? I'm not sure if I can see you actually, but I was going to do a bit of a hands up thing. Let me see what happens. Can you put your hands up if you are an avid goer to these kinds of short performance art practices? Okay. Do you carry out your own Kleinkunst performances? Who are the performers here tonight? Okay. That's interesting. Would you say that you're an academic?
Oh, yeah.
Who are the undergraduates and postgraduate students in the room? Finally, can you put your hands up if you put your hands up more than once? Okay, that's about half again. Okay, so maybe and that has some sort of relevance on tonight's place for discussion. Perhaps it will become relevant within the question and answer session that we're going to have as part of tonight's event. So I guess this is the third and final series at the Roundhouse, and our questions is about what's happening going forward, especially given the current economic climate and everything. So I guess we were looking to do a bit more reflection tonight to see if we've kind of succeeded in offering this place for discussion around these kind of practices. Have we done that, or how might we have done it differently or arguably better? So that's kind of my question tonight as a convener of this programme. I'm going to hand you over to Laura now, who's going to talk a bit more about tonight's event.
This evening will feature performances from Gypsy Rose 3, who have already entertained some of you, Betty Bruiser, the Baron and Missy Macabre, and Rubber Richie. There will be paper presentations, including a critique of Richard Butchin's 2008 film The Last American Freak Show by Lisa Blackman from Goldsmiths University, Louise Chambers on intersex bodies and the 19th century freak show, Kate Pelling on the role of the clown in queer performance, and Gary Vanderhorn on the 21st century phenomenon of underground wrestling and his Lucha Britannia events. Tonight's event is being funded by the Centre for Excellence in Training for Theatre at Central School of Speech and Drama and the Roundhouse. And we'd like to thank Becky Birchall, John Hare, Layla Jones and everyone at the Roundhouse who've been brilliant in supporting us. Our student production team, who've been fantastic, and Ben O'Neill, our production manager, couldn't have done it without you, Ben. They've done a brilliant job. Thanks also to Patrick Baldwin, our photographer for the evening, and of course to all the acts and presenters for getting involved in this evening. The structure of the event tonight will be 2 performances, followed by 2 papers, and then a short Q&A, and then an interval, and then a performance, a paper, and a performance presentation. And then at the end of the evening, we'll have a panel discussion, and you'll have an opportunity to ask more questions to everyone that's taken part in the evening. There are evaluation forms in your high-quality souvenir programmes, which you can keep those, by the way, stapled with my own hands. We're really keen to hear your thoughts, so if you can please take a moment to fill them in at the end of the night and just leave them on the tables, that would be brilliant. We're also filming the event, so if you don't want to be filmed, we'd ask audience members to get a still photo taken so that we can ensure to delete the relevant footage. Just so you know, fire exits are on either side of the auditorium, they're marked with the light. Please make sure that you turn off all your mobile phones and pages, everything else. Right, so on to the evening. Our first acts this evening are the delectable Betty Bruiser and the remarkable Rubber Richie. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Those of you that are sat over in the far side, you might want to come round this way a little bit for Betty Bruiser's performance, just to make sure that you get to see everything. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Betty Bruiser.